Hello, this is Brian Foster coming to you on July 20th, 2021. And we are continuing on as we have been doing the last a lot of Tuesday nights, going over A Wonder in the Spirit Land by the Spirit Franchezzo. Now, Franchezzo, just to let you know, is a spirit who died. He had found his true love. He'd kind of taken advantage of women. He wasn't that nice of a person. He found his true love and then died right after. And he went down to the lower zone and down to the death. But his true love was still living in the physical world. Tried to contact her through mediums. He tried to contact her also. She contacted him. And he has been working his way up. And now he's actually part of a group that is going back down into the what he calls hell. It's what he called the dark abyss by Spiritism, to try and help people get out of that land and into one of the lower levels of heaven. Now, I am going through this book because it has a lot of parallels and it talks a lot about the spirit world. And I am interpreting this book by Spiritism. Now, Spiritism was brought to you in the 1850s, codified by Allan Kardec. And he did not just talk with one spirit, but with many. It was all organized by the Spirit of Truth. And it was as promised to us in the New Testament by Jesus Christ. And what the Spirit of Truth was going to reveal to us is more information. And that's what Spiritism has. It's telling us, what's the process. Karma, reincarnation is real. We are immortal spirits. We come here on Earth, a campus called Earth, so we can learn. And we're living on a planet of atonement where things seemingly seem, oh God, this is a horrible, chaotic place. Good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. Well, it's all there because we're called a planet of atonement, and we have to learn from our past mistakes. So people who are seemingly good are still learning from what they've done not so good in their past lives. This is all starting to change after the year 2000. We're entering a phase where we're going to become a planet of regeneration. We won't have to go through these tough trials and tribulations. We'll still have to learn, but it won't be emotionally hard on us. So, if you're interested, look up Allan Kardec, space PDF. You'll find all his books on PDF. It's really great. Also, if you just click on his picture on my blog, nwspiritism.com, it'll take you to the FEB bookstore. You can get his books there and other books by other Spiritist authors besides. Okay, now let's get to where we were in the book. Now, this is part 2 of the chapter, The Amusements of a Great City of Hell, Words of Caution. So he's been into the city, and he's kind of, the spirit world kind of talks to him and gives him inspiration. He also has a person that comes and shows up every so often and says, I'll help you do this, or do things. So he's already gone down in the depths of hell and helped some people go up. And one of the guys that helped him up was a pirate and helped him rescue a lot of people from this torturous lake. And then one of his co-workers took that person and then guided him up to a little outpost in the dark abyss where they can get better. You can't just go all the way from the dark abyss or hell all the way to heaven. It would just be too much for you. You wouldn't know what to do. You have to gradually acclimatize yourself, because as you go higher and higher, you become less matter, more energy. The ratio of energy to matter is higher. That's why even people down here in this lower level, this hell level, can't see someone from heaven unless they make themselves more dense. And that's why when we on Earth, we see someone who's like an angel. They look just so bright, and we can't even hardly make them out. Look like they have wings. Well, actually, if we were at the same level as that angel, they look just like us. Better looking, of course, but they'd be just like us. Okay. So I stopped in the middle of the chapter because it's a very long chapter, and he just went into like this party, and saw this duchess, and he says, and the duchess in the days of the 16th century, I beheld that in her history. Now, so we're an open book. The thing I want to tell everybody, a spirit, good spirit, low spirit, high spirit can stand next to us, read our minds, read our history, and depending on the level of the spirit, read a lot of our future or a little tiny bit of our future, what's going to happen. Remember, there's no time in the spirit world. Time is part of that whole dimension. And he said that she poisoned no less than 6 persons. That's why she's in where she's at. Beside her was a man who belonged to the same era. So this is 16th century. This is 15th century. This is like 500 years ago. And it caused several persons obnoxious to him to be assassinated by his bravos, and moreover slain another with his own hand in the most treacherous manner during a quarrel. Not a nice person. Another woman had killed her illegitimate child because it stood between her and wealth and position. She had not been many years in this place, and Seymour will come by shame and remorse than any of the others. So I resolved, if possible, to get near to and speak to her. So that's his job, right? He's down there in that what he calls hell. Although there's no hell, right? There's no eternal damnation. So he's looking for someone like this, like, oh, I can't believe I did this. I feel terrible. And that's what Jesus Christ and the spirit world wants. They want us to think about what we did and go, that was not a good idea. I will never do that again. That's all they want. They don't want to punish us per se. They don't want to say that. They don't take pleasure in us feeling terrible, but where they take pleasure in us is for us to understand what we did incorrectly and resolve not to do that again. And then they'll help us out of whatever situation. Remember, we're in this situation because we have free will. We have free will to be as rotten as we want. God did not make us automatons, make us all good. No, he let us be pretty evil to each other, pretty bad to each other. But of course, no, that means our next life we have to go through hard times. If I say people, you can't believe how many times people write to me and goes, oh, I don't want to reincarnate. I go, it's a horrible place. And I always think in my mind, I don't really say this, well, if you don't like this place, be as good as you can in this life. Next life will be much better. Okay. Let me carry on. My entrance was greeted with great shouts of laughter and wild applause, while half dozen or so of eager hands took hold of me and dragged me to the table, whereupon there were cries, let us drink to the damnation of this our new brother. Let us baptize him with the draught of this our new brother. Let us baptize him with the draught of this fine cooling wine. And before I well realized their intentions, they were all waving their glasses aloft amidst yells and shouts and horrible laughter, whilst one seized a full glass of the fiery liquid, tried to throw it over me. I had just presence of mind to step lightly aside, so that the liquor nearly all spilt upon the floor, and only a small portion fell upon my robe, which is scorched and burned like vitriol, or the wine itself turned into a bluish flame, just as one seized with lighted whiskey, and disappeared at last with an explosion of gunpowder. Then they put before me a tray full of dishes, which were at the first sight resembling earthly delicacies. But on closer inspection, I saw that they were full of the most horrible, corrupting, and loathsome maggots. So he was warning. He says, look, don't drink any of this, because when you drink, you're thirstier. It's horrible. Don't eat anything. It will just put you back into this lower level in the way of thinking. And of course, because Franchezzo isn't that high yet. He's just still barely into the top of the lower zone where he's learning. Now carrying on. As I turned away from them, one hag of a woman, for she was much more old and ugly and horrible to look upon than the most degraded specimen you can imagine, whose bleared eyes and fiendish expression made me recoil from her, seized me around the neck, and tried, with many grimaces which she intended for coquettish smiles, she had been, O ye powers, a great beauty on earth, to induce me to join her in her party in a little game of cards. She said, the stakes for which we play consist of the liberty of the loser. We have invented this pleasing mode of passing our time here, since it revives for us the the diversements of the past, and because there is no money here which one can win or use if you win, seeing it all turns to dross in your hands, we have adopted this mode of paying our debts, and we agreed to be the slave of anyone who beats us at our game of chance and skill, so we can turn the tables on them by ourselves winning and making them in turn our slaves. 'Tis a charming arrangement, as you would find, did you join our party for a little. These others here, she added, with a strange mixture of insolent arrogance and animosity in her tone. These other here are but the canal, the scum of the place, and you do well to turn from them in their amusement. But for me, I'm a royal duchess, and these my friends are noble also, and we would adopt you, who you are also, I perceive, one of the elite among ourselves. So, you know, when a lot of people say, you create your own heaven, you create your own hell. And there's truth to that. But actually what happens is the law of affinity takes you to where you belong. So this duchess who's, you know, they can't escape the fact that they look as they are inside, right? Their outside reflects their inside in the spirit world. She's with other people like her. In fact, in a previous chapter, they were talking about, well, everyone here at least had murdered somebody. So it's they're all there, and they are into the spot where they're in the opposite of the golden rule. Others do unto you as you have done unto them. Now, it's not meant as punishment. It's meant as to shake you and say, why would I want to live amongst people like this? This is horrible. And then when you make your determination to change and not be like that, someone like Franchezzo will come and will hopefully rescue from there. Okay. With the air of a queen, she signed to me to be seated by herself. And she had been a few degrees less horrible. I might have been tempted to do so, if only for my curiosity to see what their game would be like. But disgust was too strong in me, and I shook myself free of her as well as I could, saying, which was true, that cards had never possessed any attraction for me. I was bent on getting near the woman I wished to speak to, and very soon an opening in the crowd allowed me to do so. As soon as I got beside her, I addressed her in a low voice and asked if she was sorry for the murder of her child, and would she wish to leave this place, even though it would be a long and sad and suffering road that would take her from it. Her face brightened as I spoke. How eagerly she folded up. What do you mean? Be assured, I said, I mean well to you, and if you will watch and follow me, I shall doubtless find some means for both of us to leave this dreadful place. She pressed my hand in assent, but she did not venture to speak, for the other spirits were again crowding around us in a way that was rapidly growing more and more threatening, although the guise of friendliness was still kept up. See, this is, I mean, if you've ever been within a den of thieves who are acting all nice or seen a movie like this, this is how it is. These people mean you nothing but harm, and yet they try to be friendly outwardly. It's all a charade. I'll carry on. The Duchess and her party had returned to their card with a frightful avidity. They were quarreling over them, accusing each other of cheating, of which I have no doubt was the case. And it seemed as though if I was about to begin in that corner of the room to vary the monotony of their existence. I noticed that also that others were collecting in groups around the door so as to keep me from leaving in case I desired to do so. And I saw my enemy with a withered hand whispering with some others of a very low, degraded type, such as might have been slaves in their past lives. Half a dozen men and women came up and urged me to join them in a dance they were indulging in, which was like some of those abominations we read in the descriptions of the witches' Sabbath of the old days of witchcraft, which I shall certainly not attempt further to describe. Can it be, I thought to myself as I looked at them, that there was truth in these old tales after all? And can the explanation be that these unfortunate beings who were accused as witches really did allow themselves to be so dominated by evil spirits that their souls were for a time drawn down to one of these spheres and took part in some of its frightful orgies? I know not. But it seems truly a marvelous resemblance between these poor things I was now witnessing and what was related by the so-called witches, most of them poor half-witted mortals, more to be pitied than condemned. Now, again, he's right. These people are to be pitied. There's going to be horrible people. There's going to be the leaders of Cuba, the leaders of North Korea, politicians who are just completely corrupt, they will all come down here. And they will be amazed that they're not important. And they will think, well, I should have been rewarded for what I've done. And yet they will not be rewarded. They will be something like this, and they will be laughed at and used and abused. And they should be pitied because they're completely wrong. They're completely wrong what was the purpose of life. The purpose of life on earth isn't to get the best toys, to make the most money and be the most powerful or the most famous. It's to change your attitude and your character for the better, to rip out your primitive emotions and replace those with more advanced emotions: love, friendship, fraternity, honor. Okay, I carry on. As these creatures, whose gestures were an insult to call dancing, approached, I saw they were trying to get behind us in a ring and surround us, and some instinct seemed to tell me to not allow them. I drew back close to the wall, holding the woman's hand in mine, and whispering her not to leave go of me on any account. The whole crowd of spirits were now gathering towards my end of the room, and the dull ferocity of their faces and wild savage glitter of their eyes in terrible contrast to their affectation of light-hearted gaiety. Closer and closer they gathered, a moving mass of evil personified. So that's pretty frightening. For once their quarrels and jealousies merged in the common desire to do me harm, to get me down, to trample me and rend me to pieces. As the muttering of a storm came here and there, broken, disjointed words of hate and menace, while those dancing demons kept up their wild antics in front of us. And all at once a great cry, a yell of fury broke from them. A spy, a traitor, an enemy has got amongst us. It is one of those accursed brothers from above come here to spy upon us and carry away our victims. Down upon him, stamp upon him, crush him to death, tear him to pieces, hurl him into the vaults below. Away with him, away, away. So here he is with this poor innocent woman. Well, that's not innocent, but he's trying to help her, and he's just like, the whole room is trying to kill him. Let's see what he does. Like as an avalanche sweeps down the mountain side, they rushed upon us, those raging fiends, and I for one thought we were done for, and could not but regret that I had been drawn into entering the place at all. I thought I was lost when, lo, just as the nearest of them were actually upon us, the wall behind opened, and faithful friend, another spirit, drew us through, the wall closing again so suddenly that the yelling crowd scarce realized how we had disappeared. So this is, so this all sounds fantastic. So they were against the wall. They're all being, okay, there's a spy. And all of a sudden the wall opened, which is easy for his friend. And he said another spirit was there for him, because that is just a simple thing for a higher spirit to open any wall, because the high spirit can volitate. They can move by the speed of thought. In fact, there's a story in one of the books by G. Vao, and I talk about in my book, Heaven and Below. And this group of spirits, they go down to rescue a bunch of spirits from this low city. Excuse me, I gotta get some water. And the commander of the city knows he cannot fight this, because a higher spirit is just completely superior to any of these little spirits. Now, Franchezzo is just a little bit higher than them, and he was kind of frightened. But the higher spirit would just look at him like, yeah, get out of here. And they could do nothing to him. So anyway, to get back to the story. So the high spirit who controlled that city said, okay, yes, you can get all the people you want. You can have a meet in the square. Why don't you come and sit in my palace, which is really a dump, and you can wait while they're there. Because he goes, okay, there's like 8 of them. And they went into this room, and the guy opened the door, let him into the room. He went by, he said, okay, wait here in this little room, and I'll come back to you. And he went and he closed the other door, and the door on the other side was locked. And the leader of the group says, you know what he just did? And they go, yeah. He goes, they tried to lock in these good spirits into this room. And so all the good spirits did is they just made themselves less dense and walked through the wall. And then when the when the leader of the city came and opened the door, and he told everybody, "Oh, look what I've done! I've captured all these people." He opened the door, and there was nobody there, and they all laughed at him, because that's how it is. People laugh at you and sarcastic. They're horrible. So anyway, again, this wall just opened up, and they walked right through it. Once outside, we were borne away to a short distance, whence looking back we could see through the walls, which had become transparent to our eyes, the whole mass of spirits quarreling and fighting with each other like so many devils, each blaming the others that we've been allowed to escape. "Look now," said faithful friend, "you have allowed yourself to join, even for a moment, in any of their pursuits. Oh, had you allowed, we should not have been able to help you, for you would have become clothed for a time with material magnetism, and these walls would have held you, like them, prisoners, since you would have become too gross to pass through them. Those spirits have not done with you yet, and you must look to seeing them again, for even the brief time upon the earth plane during which you yielded to their influence. And the thought of following their suggestions has created a link between you and them, which will be difficult to sever till you yourself stand on a height of spiritual development, which will set a gulf between you," as I said before. So he's kind of a little close to them, and he's got part of him like, oh, interesting, but he has to just completely go to get rid of all these primitive emotions and really love the idea of service. "As yet, I am told, you have not fully overcome your passions. You have learned to subdue and control them, but all desire for revenge upon those who wronged you in the past is not dead. Until that is so, you will not be able to shake yourself entirely free from these beings, especially while you are in your own particular sphere, for indeed they are strong. For my part, I have fought a battle not unlike that which you wage now, and I know, none better, how hard it is to forgive where we have been deeply wronged. Yet I know also that you'll do it thoroughly and freely some day, and then will these dark spirits have lost power to cross your path. My directions are now to guide you to the palace of one you will be surprised to see, for he is one whose name is familiar to you, though he lived on earth long before your time. You have felt surprised at finding how little these beings are able to disguise from you their real spiritual state. Know then that you owe this power of clear and pure vision to her whose pure love flows ever to you as a constant," he's talking about his girlfriend who's still in the physical world, "as a constant stream of crystal water, giving you the power to perceive higher things and a perception of those lower spirits in all their foulness." Between yourself and your beloved one, there's now so strong a link that you unconsciously partake of the powers of her higher nature, even though as she shall partake of the strength of yours. And thus, though to yourself in your own present state of spiritual development, much of the corruption of this place may be glossed over by the art of these dark beings. Yet in the clear, pure perception you draw from her, you possess a power to perceive things as they truly are, and must appear to a pure spirit beholding them. Thus the glamour of deception is thrown over your senses in vain. Great then is her love and its protecting power for you. And truly I was told that her love would be as a shield to you, my friend, in all your trials. So again, this is something to think about, is even here on earth, we have guardian angels looking over us. We have other spirits who are connected to us in other physical lives and are part of our spirit family. They can some of them reincarnate with us, some of them don't. It's all wonderful. So remember, you always have people around you trying to help you, no matter how bad it is. In fact, the spirits have told us the people who commit suicide, they always said, look, no matter how bad you think things are, whatever trial you are in at the moment is not meant to be forever. Wait a week, a month, a year, and things will resolve themselves. So never give up, and you're not supposed to leave this place early. So don't give up. This is a trial you're going through. This is most probably a trial that you volunteered for because you think it's going to help you change your attitude and your character for the better. So get through it. You won't have to go through it again. I'll carry on. Before we leave this sphere, I'm going to show you another picture that real life fear, sadden even while it instructs you And that is the picture of one, such as you would have been without her love, left to battle alone with the helpless burden of your sins and passions, able to see only as far as your own unaided powers of visions could show you, and deprived all that wellspring of purity and love that ever flows to you from her. When your journey in this place is over, you are to follow me to a spot where you'll see this other picture, and we know the sight will make you doubly tender and considerate to those unhappy men whom you can help better than any, since you will know that but for her saving love, you must have sunk like them in the fullness of your gratitude. And we know you will seek to do for others what has been done for yourself. As he ceased to speak, we turned away from the spot silently together, my heart too full for me to answer him in any words. We had left the poor woman in the care of a bright angel of the upper spheres, and were assured that she would have every help given to her progress. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 22, and next Tuesday we will start on chapter 23. So I hope this is interesting to people, because it is a commentary by a spirit talking through a medium of what he saw in the lower levels. And all of this has been backed up by other spiritist mediums who have written about the lower levels in the dark abyss, which of course Franchezzo calls hell. And so, first of all, we can think that, there's no such thing as hell, there's no such thing as eternal punishment. Well, yes, right. There is no such thing as eternal punishment. But there is the law of affinity. And you go to where you fit in. And if you fit in with other murderers and thieves and criminals, that's where you'll be. Heaven, people always say, well, God forgives all. And if whatever I do wrong, and if I repent, I will be forgiven. Well, yes. Jesus and God forgives all, and they always love you. Always. But it's up to you to change your character and your attitude. And you will be placed in a position where your dominant characteristics are with other dominant characteristics. And if you do something horrible and go, I repent, but you just say that, and you don't mean it internally, you'll go down to one of these places. Now, again, I'm going to say it again, it's not meant as a punishment, it's meant as edification. So you can see, okay, if you're going to be like that, there's others just like you. How does it feel to be there? And so why do we have to go through this cruel thing? It's not cruel. Again, I'm going to say it's educational, but it's for each spirit to decide for him or herself how to become a better person. We're not created like automatons where we're going to be good, right? Because we'd all be the same, and it'd be a very dull universe. No, we're all created, and we're given free will, and we go through these things, and we do these terrible things, and repent, and we learn, and we come out much stronger and better. And we're not good people because we're afraid of punishment. We're good people because we want to be good. We understand what goodness does for us and goodness does for other people. That is the genius and the beauty of the spirit realm. And so that's why, if you are interested in Spiritism, I talked before about the Spirits book, but you can also go to my book, Spiritism 101, and you can get it on my website, nwspiritism.com. And it's on PDF. Of course, you can get it in Kindle, paperback, and Audible. But again, Spiritism 101, you click on the right-hand navigation bar, you can download it in PDF form. Also, it's in French. Also have another book, a couple of other books in French, but all my books are on the right-hand side. So I would recommend you, it's a very short book, I think less than 100 pages or 100 pages. Read this book, and then I would go through and I would look at the Spirits book. Again, you can get that on PDF. And then the other one I recommend is, if you want to start really understanding the spirit realm, the physical realm, who you are as a spirit, is to read the Spirit Realm, Spiritism as Revealed, the true reality of our existence. It will show you, where are we? because we're in this simulation. The physicalness, our body, we're simulated. This is not real. It certainly seems real. It certainly hurts if I pinch myself or I try to hit the wall with my hand. It hurts like heck, right? But we're immortal souls. And this physical cocoon that we have will only last so long, and we get rid of it, and we go back to what we think we should look like in the spirit realm. And in the spirit realm, we look at like our idealized selves, our paraspirit. Let me bring this in. So we have a physical body, then we have a paraspirit. And our paraspirit covers our physical body, connects to every cell in our body. And then when we pass over, we become looking like our paraspirit as our idealized form of ourselves. Now, if you're down here like Franchezzo and you're in hell, you look pretty bad because you are bad inside. But if you're in heaven, you're a very beautiful creature, right? You're a very beautiful person. And then, of course, then the spirit, which is the logical composition. In fact, the spirit's called a personality, right? It's a encapsulation of all the past experiences, your personality, your character, everything that's made you throughout eons of multiple lives is encapsulated in that. And eventually, as you get higher and higher, you won't even need your paraspirit. So, it sounds so fantastic. And yet it makes logic. It tells us that why we're on earth. And we have a purpose. Our purpose is to improve ourselves. Our purpose is to help other people. Our purpose isn't to gather wealth and material goods. Our purpose is to change ourselves. We cannot die. We never lose any chance. We always have a second chance. The people around us, our family, most of the time, not all the time, care about us because they've reincarnated with us multiple times before. You may have had the same husband or wife, or not. Or maybe your second wife or your second husband. You never know. Some people don't have soulmates in one life because they needed to expand on their own. I've known instances in spiritist literature where this man and woman, his wife said, you know, in your next life, I'm not going to be there for you. Because, well, no, I want you there. Because, well, no, it's like your spiritual side, you use me. You're not growing your spiritual side. So, unfortunately, your next life, you're on your own. And of course, not as stark as that. But those things happen. That's why you can't despair in this life. And this life is short. Now, to us here on Earth, a week is a long time. And 80 years is a long time. But when you're immortal and you divide 80 years into infinity, it's a pretty small percentage. So think of it that way sometimes. Anyway, so I want to say thank you for being with me tonight. Remember, I try to go live stream every Sunday and Tuesday night. Check out my blog, nwspiritism.com. And please subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the like button.